What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of NASCAR Around the Track with the Riders, featuring myself, SterlingRider, and old Sleepy Joe here. Hello! Wakey,
What's
wakey!
everybody? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was watching the truck race. My
Oh,
bad.
no. Well, you're not wrong. Yep. Welcome back to another episode. Myself, SterlingRider, and of course, Duke Rider. Talking about Kansas. Um, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But I say first we go over some news. Not very much news, but Erik Jones. We know he had that fracture in his back. He was cleared to race at Kansas, but personally, he did not. He decided to not to, and so he plans to return next week at Darlington. So just figured I'd throw that in there for anyone that watched the race and didn't know.
He's gonna come back at one of the toughest tracks on the circuit.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean this track wears drivers out. This track wears cars out. Um, this track wears tires out. This track can wear fans out. It's one of the toughest tracks that NASCAR runs on, and he's going to come back. So, but the good news is he's coming back. He's not. It's not going to be a very long injury out, which is good for Erik. Hopefully, he doesn't get in the car at Darlington and have another wreck that could cause further damage to him. Corey Haim did. Corey Haim subbed pretty well in that car, so that was a good thing. We'll just have to see, how it goes for Erik. I'm just glad that he's able to get back into the car and continue his career. And he's won at Darlington a couple of times now, so there you go.
Yeah. So hopefully his return is healthy and there's no wrecking to maybe further affect that injury or cause another injury, of course, because there's only a certain limit these drivers can go through with injuries before they have to call it quits, and I'm sure Erik Jones does not want to call it quits at all this early, as he's still pretty early in his career. So,
Absolutely, and he's a winner. He's a proven winner. He's won in this car, and so you really hate to see. I mean, we go back a few years ago at Kurt Busch, who was on the tail end of his career, still ended up having to retire from an injury in this car. So the fact that Erik's able to come back after just a couple of weeks, get back in the car, hopefully he's healthy, and it'd be good for him to be able to go out and perform. NASCAR's already given him the playoff waiver, so if he's able to win a race, he can be in the playoffs. So that's a good thing as well. So anyway, yeah, good thing.
yeah, definitely. So again, hope nothing happens and his recovery still goes pretty smoothly as he gets back in that car. So other part of news, I'll let you take the wheel of the car for that part, as you know a lot more about this than I do.
There's still no news. As a matter of fact, they're not even close on this charter agreement. I did read a piece of news today. Several people posted this on Twitter, and this is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire life when it comes to this charter thing. NASCAR is trying to put into the charter agreement where a member of the France family can buy into a team starting next year. That is an equivalent of that just wouldn't work. That's a conflict of interest. I mean, you have the family that controls the sport, that controls the rule book, that controls the people that they hire, that controls race control, they control inspection before and after the race, and they're going to own owners of the race team. That's a conflict of interest. That would be like Michael Jordan taking all of his money and going and buying the NBA and then turning around and buying the Chicago Bulls too. Who's going to win every year? The Chicago Bulls. Why? Because everybody else is going to foul out every game in the first 10 minutes.
I'm okay with that.
So this is just But
No.
I mean, this is just a bad idea for competition-wise. Now, if the France family or somebody, if Ben Kennedy wants to go and start a race team and put it in the series, in any of the top 3 series, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. It's got to be an open car, though. It does not need to be a chartered car in the Cup Series, because again, that's just a bad look.
Oh no,
And we see this conflict. Now, we do see this conflict of interest some sort on the Penske side, with Roger Penske owning the IndyCar series. And he's got teams in the IndyCar series. But what did we talk about last week? 2 of his teams got disqualified from the first race because they broke the rules. So, at least Roger had the integrity to step back and say, I'm not going to be part of this decision. But this is the same family that gave us Brian France, who we really don't want to talk about, almost killed the sport.
Yeah,
so why do we want them being part owner of a chartered car? It would not look good.
No, I don't think so. That's definitely like a back way of trying to cheat the sport. Because, I mean, they already, as you said, own the sport. They control the sport, and the rule book and all that. So that would pretty much just make it an unfair game. It's like putting in cheat codes to beat a boss in some video game. So
right,
that is definitely that's just stupid in my opinion. I would not. Hopefully,
that's what I said. That was one of the dumbest things I've read in a long time.
Yeah. So and knowing a lot of the team owners, they would all call out on it and say it's a bunch of bull crap. So I don't see that. I see that as coming up once and then never again. But who knows? With them, they may try it again.
And on that same line, you mentioned owners calling out their crap. Denny Hamlin continues to call them out. Brad Keselowski even called them out a little bit this weekend with what he said when he was asked about it. But Denny said that there's 4 things that the teams want. He said now each team may have those 4 things in a different order, but there's really 4 big things that the teams are asking for. And from everything that I gathered, the teams are pretty unified on getting those 4 things, even though they may have them in different orders of priority. Brad said that seemed to imply that the teams are pretty much on the same page, but NASCAR is just not budging. I mean, this could come down to a take it or leave it situation, and at this point, some of the teams may not take it. I think Denny said that something like 6 teams have closed down since 2016. And that's not good for the sport. And one of them we talked about before with Furniture Row Racing was a championship team They won the championship in 2017, announced midway through 2018 that they were shutting down at the end of the year, and still went on and were in the Final Four.
Yeah.
The championship four of 2018, just to close their doors. We cannot have championship teams closing their doors. I think had this charter system been around back then, I think we'd still have the 78 with Furniture Row Racing. And I believe Martin Truex probably would have had another championship or two before by now with that team. So I'm in agreement. I know a lot of fans, and you remember I was not a big fan of the charter system when it first came on board. Now, I still think they need to expand the field and allow more open cars in there. I think that we should have a maximum of 43 cars in the field. Give some money to the open cars. I understand that the reason we're not running open cars right now is because there's no money in it. Give them some money. I mean, go back and give them some money so that they can run, because that's how we're going to get new teams to come into the sport to buy charters. So speaking of buying charters, another news story that broke on Twitter today, and I can't remember who posted it. Stewart-Haas has sent out information to potential buyers as to what it will take for them to buy a charter. Now, the story said a charter. It didn't say multiple charters. It said a charter. Now, whether that's 2 charters, 3 charters, 1 charter, 4 charters, I don't know. But apparently, Stewart-Haas is shopping at least one of them around. My question is who goes? Sure, after watching that race yesterday and the past couple weeks, I don't think it's going to be Noah Gragson, because he's the only one that's, Kevin Harvick took that team off of his shoulders at the end of last year, and I think when Noah signed on, Noah said, "Well, if nobody else is going to pick it up, I'll take it."
Which is possible.
So he's turning into a leader on that team.
He is. Excuse me. He's always talking about on social media about doing things with the team, trying to boost their morale with it and boost their confidence. So he definitely does a lot outside of the races, and that's part of it. So it's showing within the races. You boost these guys' courage and confidence in attacking pit stops and attacking the tracks, trying to figure out what's best as a team, and it's showing. So I definitely agree with that. Gragson has definitely picked up what Kevin Harvick left, and I would agree he's not going to leave. So that would leave the question of what of the other 3 is possible. We've seen Chase Briscoe perform pretty solidly at the beginning. He's fallen off though these past few races. Josh Berry we've seen up front on the short tracks, but these other tracks we haven't really seen him. We also saw him up front at Talladega, which was good, but it's also one of those wild card races. Almost anyone could run up front as long as you avoid the big ones. And then Ryan Preece, in my opinion, which sucks because I like Ryan Preece. I would say it would be Ryan because he's the one who hasn't performed as well as the others. Constantly back in the 20s and 30s and rarely ever been seen up front except for a handful of times. So that's my honest opinion, which again, I hate to say because I like Ryan. I've met him at the Derby. He's super cool. But that's just the way it looks. So.
And that's the car that Gene Haas pretty much puts on the track out of his own pocket. So I have to agree with you on that. But now let me ask you this, okay? The Fours won a championship. The 14's won a championship. The 14 is Tony Stewart's number.
Correct.
The 10's been around the longest outside of the 14. The 41 is Gene Haas's number. What number, if they do sell, let's just say one charter, what number goes away? If Parise is the driver, what number do they do? Do they drop? And who do they move? If they drop, say, the 10 car, do they move? Do they do some driver swaps and maybe move like Briscoe into the 41 and Noah to the 14 and leave Josh in the 4? Or do they just move Noah from the 10 to the 41? What do you think might happen there?
Ooh, that's actually a really good question.
The 10 car is really the car that doesn't have that connection.
Yeah.
I guess with the team.
The 4 would not. I would say wouldn't leave. I mean, Kevin Harvick won a championship with the 4 car pretty much as soon as he got in that car. The 14 with Stewart having partial ownership of the team, and it also being a well-known number and championship car, I don't see it going away either. So those I would say are the 2 that are a definite stay. When it comes to the 10 and 41,
yeah, if they sell 2 charters, those will be the 2 numbers that will stay.
Correct.
I believe.
Absolutely. However, when it comes down to the 10 and 41, that's tough because I mean, yeah, the 41 that was Haas's number. I don't know, because I mean the 10 doesn't have that well known, but we've seen good drivers drive the number 10 in the past. So I really don't know. If I were to say, it probably would be the 10 to go away, just because of more of the team ownership than anything. Because like I said, 14 staying because of Tony Stewart, and the 41 would stay mostly because of Haas. So, and then we've already discussed the 4 is known as a championship number as well. So I would say the 10. But with that being the case, shifting drivers around. If Ryan Preece is the one dropped, I would say Briscoe would stay in the 14. There's a really good relationship between him and Tony Stewart, and I think Tony would be very happy with him continuing to show that number. Barry and Gregson, it's kind of a topple, but I would say Gregson would probably be the one moved to the 41 if they keep the 41, just because of the relationship Josh Berry has with Rodney and with Kevin even. There's a lot of good relationships behind the scenes with that number and that driver. So I would say Josh would most likely stay with the 4. So my guess would be Gregson moves to the 41 if they sell a charter and Ryan Preece is the one to go.
Now, if they sell 2 charters, who's the second driver out? You think that depends on who performs this year?
I would say that depends on performance. As I say, Noah Gragson is a definite stay. Like we've discussed, he's got the team on his back. He's kind of shouldering the team, and he's doing extremely well. Probably the best we've seen Stewart Haas perform in a while. Outside of Kevin Harvick when he was driving the 4. and even in the past year or so, he struggled just because of this new car setup. So Gregson's definitely doing the best. So I would say they keep Gregson definitely. However, Josh Berry and Chase Briscoe, again, there's a lot of behind the scenes relationships. So I really could not say. I think it would come down to performance. So I don't know.
I think it comes down to performance and who has the money behind them. As far as sponsors, who has the sponsors behind them, who at the end of the year, if they decide that they're going to do 2 charters, they're going to look at their sponsorships, talk to who their sponsors are, and the sponsors are going to tell them really like, okay, well, we want Chase. And if you get more sponsors saying we want Chase, Josh is out. But if you got more sponsors saying we want Josh, then Chase is out. I mean, that's just kind of, this is a case of maybe money talks.
Maybe. It's possible. And when it does come to sponsorship, of course, we've seen with Josh Berry multiple different sponsorships. There were a few that kind of went with another driver as well. Like at Talladega, he had Overstock, but also so did Noah Gragson. But we've also seen a lot of newer sponsorships come into play with Josh Berry, like Sunny D and like an outdoors. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but it was like an outdoor sponsor. But when it comes to Chase with sponsors, all we've really seen outside of a select few is Mahinda's tractors. So it could be sponsors, but I see that. I still see that leaning toward Josh if that was the final say, just because of how many more sponsors he's brought in already. But then again, we've also seen a very good relationship with Mahinda and Briscoe through commercials. So again, it's another. I don't know. So
toss-up, yeah.
It's a toss-up.
Well,
so
we did have some racing this weekend.
We did. I think I slept through some of it.
Yeah, Saturdays was really not too exciting. The ARCA race was the ARCA race. Connor Mozak won that. He had a pretty good battle with Tanner Gray there at the end. But, this is the second race he's won this year. He's running some races in trucks as well and performed really well. He's driving his car reminds me a lot of the 28 Texaco Havoline paint scheme from the 80s of Davey Allison, the way it's painted. And it's got those chrome looking numbers on it. So that's pretty cool. It was an ARCA race. I mean, what can I say? It was nothing really to get too excited about. The truck race had a whopping, for a truck race, had a whopping 3 cautions. We had a caution on lap 2 where Ty Majeski hit the wall. He blew a left front tire. He hit the wall. And then we didn't have a caution again until the end of stage 1. We restarted. Corey Heim won stage 1. We didn't have a caution until the end of stage 2. Zane Smith won stage 2. We restarted, and Corey Heim went on to win the race. It's a very uneventful truck race, which I'm really shocked about seeing. It's been a while since we've had a uneventful truck race, but there's been several this year that have not had an exorbitant amount of cautions, which is a good thing for these trucks, but it's also a bad thing for these trucks because it means that they're not losing. They're not losing it. They're able to. The trucks are too stable. Nobody's spinning out. It could be a racing thing too. Maybe they get too spread out that they don't get enough air circulating to spin anybody out. Nothing really impressive, nothing really big happened in the truck race. After the truck, well, I will say Caden Honeycutt was impressive. He finished 5th in that 45 truck. He's shown some talent this year. He's also had some issues on the track where he's shown some immaturity as a driver. Cam Waters and Lane Riggs had a disagreement on pit road about some contact that they had on track, but when Fox actually did show the replay of that, was it Fox? I can't remember if I saw it on TV or if I saw it on Twitter. I want to say I saw it on Twitter, to be honest with you.
I think I saw it on Fox because they actually, we'll get into this again later, but they actually had a good amount of interviews afterwards.
They did, and the post-race show that we had for the trucks on Saturday is the post-race show we need to have for the cups on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't care what else is going on. Schedule time for a post-race.
I agree.
So, yeah, you may have seen it. I may not, because I watched a few of the interviews, and then I thought they were done because they kept talking about, well, up next.
No,
so I thought they were done,
yeah.
so I turned it off. But
just because they kept going, they went to commercial like 3 times with the interviews, but still there were a lot of good interviews afterwards. I was kind of worried because they did their typical like first and second place interviews and then went to commercial, and I was like, that's it? I mean, I'm not surprised if it is, but come on, like, y'all got to stop this. And then they came back from commercial, and I was like, oh, there's more? Oh. Am I in a dream? Like, I was not expecting it. So there was actually quite a few. And I believe when they came back from commercial, there was an interview, and then they showed the replay between Riggs and Waters. I'm just going to throw in there, they're back there like in 18th and 19th. So not exactly sure.
They're racing for nothing.
Yeah, not exactly sure why they're mad at each other. If it was for like top 10 to get, and even then I still wouldn't say it's, but I would say it really just comes down to whoever wins. If there's beef between the winner and second place, like, that's when I would say it would matter. But I don't know. It was just kind of weird to me. But yeah.
So let's see here. We had, like I mentioned, Corey Heim won. Zane Smith finished 2nd. It's good to see Zane in the truck because it will help his confidence because he's having a terrible, terrible year in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
He just can't seem to get out of the way in the Cup Series. But he finished 2nd. Christian Eckes, I can talk, with another strong run in 3rd. That's right. Caden Honeycutt finished 4th. I think I said he finished 5th earlier. Brett Moffitt returns to the Truck Series in the 1 truck and finishes 5th. Good to see Brett back in the truck. I'd like to see him get a full-time ride again. My understanding, he's going to be in this 1 truck several times this year, so that's a good thing. Nick Sanchez, him and Brett had a little bit of a butting heads during the race a couple times. Finished 6th. Tanner Gray 7th. Dean Thompson 8th. Daniel Dye 9th. And Matt Crafton in 10th. I want to see other notables. Raja Caruth finished 13th. Ben Rhodes is not having a good year this year. Finished 16th. I mean, I don't think they mentioned his name yesterday. Or not yesterday, but on Saturday. I don't think they mentioned Ben Rhodes' name on the broadcast at all. If they did, it had to be during commercial or when I got up to go get something to eat. But Taylor Gray had an off day. Chase Purdy started on the pole, and he was a lap down rather quickly. I don't know if he was in that tangle with Ty Majeski on that lap 2 incident or what, but and then Ty Majeski, of course, finished last because he was out in that lap 2 wreck. So, yeah, just another truck race. I almost bet you we will see more cautions at Darlington next week in the truck series.
Absolutely sure that will happen, knowing Darlington. So yeah.
So they had 3 this weekend. Are you over or under at Darlington?
I would say over. I mean,
I'm gonna say they take 3 and they triple it. There's going to be at least 9, maybe 10 cautions in the truck race at Darlington.
probably. I would not be surprised. So,
all right, give us our top 12 points rundown.
all right. So, let me zoom in here because I can't read this tiny print. So, in a good old Craftsman Truck Series points report here, we got Corey Heim in first, Christian Eckes second, Nick Sanchez third, Ty Majeski fourth, Tyler Ankrum fifth, Raja Karuth sixth, Taylor Gray seventh, Matt Crafton eighth, Tanner Gray ninth, and Grant almost butchered his name, Infinger in 10th. So, and then right outside on 11th and 12th is Daniel Dye and Ben Rhodes. So,
yeah, I mean, when I say Ben is having a bad year, Ben is not in a playoff position right now. That is not. Now, he's not too far back. Let's see, what is he? Looks like he's 4 points out. Yeah, he's only 4 points out of 10th, but still, like I said, they didn't mention his name on the broadcast. And when you're not talking about Ben Rhodes, who's a 2-time champion, yeah, he's not running well. I mean, I heard him mention Stuart Friesen's name more than I did Ben Rhodes, and Stewart's down in points, and Stewart also finished behind Ben in the race. So, one of those things, I reckon. Then we had a Cup race. Well, we had Cup qualifying, which there was a couple surprises in Cup qualifying. First off, William Byron scrubbed the wall. He was fast. He was second fastest in practice, but he had the fastest 10 lap and the fastest 20 lap average in practice. And then scrubbed the wall in qualifying. He said he got tight. And then Noah Gragson with the best career start in third. Very impressive. Michael McDowell in 8th, and he ended up finishing with a good finish as well. So pretty impressive there. Chase Briscoe started up front, but watching the race, there was one point in time where Noah Gragson's in the top 10, and the other 3 Stewart-Haas cars are 30 or below.
Yeah.
With some pit strategy and stuff like that changed a little bit towards the center part of the race, but there was one point in time where Noah Gragson was the only Stewart-Haas car in the top 30, and that's sad.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, that's heartbreaking for a team that not that many years ago, all 4 of their cars won in the same year. You know, because let's see, Kurt Busch, Eric Amarola, Tony Stewart. No, Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer was in the 14 car then.
Yeah,
and
Boyer.
Kevin Harvick all won in the same year. So I was trying to figure out who was in there between Briscoe and Stewart. My mind went blank there for a minute, but I don't see any other surprises in qualifying. You see anything that kind of stands out to you?
Nah, not really. No, I mean you pointed out William Byron with what happened to him, so that was the only shocker really kind of threw me for a loop too, because I didn't watch qualifying, but I kept up with it on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. And I just see on Hendrick's page, practice, I saw Byron second fastest. And then I see qualifying come out, and he's almost dead last. I'm like, what did I miss? And then I found out he had gotten tight and hit the wall, and I was like, oh, well, that sucks.
So then we got to the race. Stage 1 was pretty uneventful. My only complaint about stage 1, and you could tell on lap 38, Mike Joy says, we've got to go to commercial. I mean, he's saying we've got to. We don't have a choice. And you could almost tell in Mike's voice that he's tired of going to commercial too. Either that or he's just getting tired of hearing about it on social media. Because he's like, it was just, the whole time it was like, I don't want to do this, but we've got to. And there was battles going on all over the track.
Yeah.
But in the first 22 laps, we get to lap 11, we take a commercial. We get to lap 22, we take a commercial. I mean, it started out a little ridiculous there commercial-wise. But stage 1, Denny Hamlin won, was no caution. Stage 2 was no caution. Chris Buescher won. He was fast. That one spot, the race where they went 5 wide, was amazing. I mean, wow. He stuck his car someplace that his car shouldn't have fit, and made it work, and came out. I think he came out in second, and then chased Denny down for the lead. You don't see that everywhere.
No, you do not.
So, then we got restarted on lap 173, and then on lap 175, we had Jimmy Johnson, Corey LaJoie, and Austin Hill get into it. But outside of the in-car cameras, and they finally showed a shot of the aftermath of what happened, but not the incident. Fox completely missed getting this wreck on video. Completely missed it. We got in-car camera shots from Corey LaJoie's car. We got in-car camera shots from Jimmy Johnson's car. In-car camera shots from Austin Hill's car. We saw them spinning later on. I mean, basically they caught. But what I saw was when they cut the camera over there, Jimmy Johnson was already going around.
Yeah.
Corey LaJoie was up against the wall. Austin Hill's hitting him, and they're hitting nose to nose. And Jimmy Johnson's. How do you miss a wreck on the racetrack in the Cup Series? Somebody on Twitter, again, I'm sorry to whoever it is if you watch this. I cannot remember who said it, but they're like, I know cameras are expensive, but come on, this is the Cup Series. This is unacceptable. And I agree. It is unacceptable to miss an incident in the Cup race. To totally miss it.
Especially when you put in who's involved. Not necessarily Corey LaJoie and Austin Hill, but Jimmy Johnson. I mean, 7-time champion. I put that in quotation marks, just so people know. I mean, NASCAR loves this guy, and he shows up for a select amount of races with Legacy. And you would think they'd have a camera on him almost the whole freaking race just because of who he is. So why don't they? I want to see it? No, but if he wrecks, yeah, I want to see what happened.
Well, and I've mentioned this before. At this point, we are 2024. There's no reason that every inch of the racetrack cannot be covered at all times. That doesn't mean you got to have it on TV, but you have a TV truck that has monitors, that has every single camera on it. When the cars are on the front stretch, you don't turn the backstretch cameras off. They're still recording. Okay? So why can't we do that the whole race? If nothing happens, you miss nothing. But if something does happen, you got it.
Right. Another Fox
So,
mystery,
and maybe
I
the
guess.
race director may not know who, they may be asking the camera guy, hey, did you get it? Did you get it? The camera guy could say, yeah, I got it. Okay. It's on camera. I'm on camera 4. Okay. So they pull up the shot from camera 4. Boom. They got the replay. 2024, there's no excuse for missing an incident, especially in the Cup race. Now, they may not have as many cameramen for trucks and Xfinity and even ARCA, but in the Cup race, there's no excuse for missing an incident.
No, I agree 100%. There's no excuse. So,
but thankfully, the wreck that happened next on lap 184, they had multiple angles of when Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, and Bubba Wallace wrecked, as when Denny Hamlin pushed up and squeezed Austin Cindric into the wall, and Austin spun out and caught Michael and Bubba on the way down. Just in case anybody's watching, Bubba didn't cause this one either.
no.
Yeah, we know somebody that every time Bubba's in a wreck, he blames Bubba, but he's a fan of Wreck-'em Ricky Spinhouse. So,
Yeah.
There you go again.
And just claims
anyway.
he's tricky. No, that was not
He's
Bubba's
tricky,
fault.
all right. Bubba has not caused an incident this year. All the incidents he's been caught up in was somebody else's crap.
Yeah, he was just in the middle of it, which I mean, it happens, but still.
And the past 3 races have been absolutely miserable for him.
Yeah.
He's been caught up in everybody's crap.
Sure, he is not happy about it.
So, and this we can go back and we talk about, okay, Toyota has won every race at this track since this car came into being, since this next gen car came in. They have won every race at Kansas. 3 of those races have been won by the 45 car with 3 different drivers: Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and Tyler Reddick. They have always run. Those 2 cars, the 23, the 45, and the 11, have always been up front at Kansas. For some reason, Denny Hamlin's up there leading laps. Of course, he wasn't when this incident took place because of pit situation, but the 23 car was not heard from all day until this incident. The 45 car was not heard from until about the end of the second stage, and then after they pitted, you never heard from him again. I mean, he finished top 10, but still, I never mentioned him. So 2311 did not have the speed that they normally have. Then the fun part happens. We got Harrison Burton spin and Joey Logano spin, two separate cautions, but both of them have flat tires and have to be towed back to the pits and lose multiple laps because they got to be pulled back to the pits, flat tires.
Yep.
Yeah, NASCAR's got to figure that one out too, how to get them back without doing that. So, then the one that really ticked me off. Yeah, I've tried to be a Kyle Busch fan since he came over to Chevrolet and came over to RCR, but incidences like what happened Sunday is why I can't be. Kyle Busch had another little hissy fit, wasn't winning the race, was running up front, wasn't winning the race, the car was not handling the way he wanted it to handle, and he spun it out.
Yeah.
Just a few laps to go. We've got an awesome race brewing up front between Martin Truex, who's chasing down Denny Hamlin. Martin probably would have caught Denny, could have passed Denny, won the race. And that's what we be talking about today. Instead, we're talking about Kyle Busch having a hissy fit, spinning out again.
Yep.
No reason. Nobody's around him. His tires weren't flat. He just, I'm loose, and spun it out. And A lot of people are going to say that was not intentional. The timing was too coincidental for it to not be intentional.
Yeah.
But it sets us up for a green, right, checkered. Yeah. NASCAR says Kyle Larson won this race by .001 seconds. Closest finish in NASCAR history. Timing and scoring said .000. I don't know if there's anything after that zero, but they don't score it if there is. When I look at the photos, I don't know what NASCAR is looking at. When I look at the photos, Chris Buescher won that race. Every photo I've seen, every angle I've seen, Chris Buescher won that race. If not, it was a dead heat tie. I don't know what NASCAR does if there's a tie. I don't know if NASCAR can have a tie. But in which way, Kyle Larson wins the race. Understandably, Chris Buescher was heartbroken. He handled his interview with class, and dignity, and held his head high.
Mm-hmm.
Ford showed speed. At least he did. Anyway, heartbroken for him. Here's a stat. Ford is now 0 for 30 in NASCAR's top 3 series this year. The manufacturer has lost 3 races this season by a combined 6/1000ths of a second.
Dang.
Ryan Blaney lost at Atlanta by .003. Ryan Sieg lost at Texas by .002. And then Chris Buescher lost in Kansas by .001.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say
So
this
they've
Go ahead.
They've shown some glimpses of speed, but when it comes down to the final inches, they're just a little bit short. Maybe if that Mustang had a little more rounded nose like the Chevrolet does.
That's funny. No, but that's true. I was rooting for Buescher. I mean, he got up there, had speed, was showing some strength there. As it comes down to it, it's really hard from the pictures I have seen. I'm sure some of them are similar to ones you've seen. It's really hard to judge who won that race because of how close.
See, they should have added another lap. And if we'd had another lap, then Elliott or Truex would have won, and we'd both be happy.
Yeah, probably. But Buescher, I mean, he fought for that coming around turn 3 and 4. I mean, he got squirrely. He got up against Larson, did a little rubbing against him, trying to throw him off, which is part of it. I'm heartbroken for him. He won last year 3 times, but we have yet to see a Ford win at all this year. Him and Blaney coming closest with Atlanta, and then here at Kansas. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that was just NASCAR's call of saying we're going with Kyle because we like Kyle more, which may be possible, or if maybe he really did win just barely. If he did, I saw somebody on Twitter say he won by the length of a Snickers bar. So I wouldn't say length. I'd say width with how close that was.
I'd say with, and I'd say it's one of those little snack size bars,
Yeah,
not the
one
not
of
the
the
full size candy bar.
one of like fun sized mini Snickers bars that you give kids for
Yeah,
Halloween.
yeah,
Um,
those little square ones
yeah. So
turned on its side.
oh yeah, the only two
So,
Fords I saw at the end of this race in the top 10 was Busher and then Noah Gragson. So
well, Michael McDowell finished 10th, so that's another good finish for him. But yeah, I mean, you're right. They did. Chris Buescher and Noah Gragson were really the only constants, really in the top 15 all day when it comes to Ford. So when you've got about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third of the field as one manufacturer, and they're not running up front, that puts the other two manufacturers up front. I mean, Chevy and Toyota are going to dominate when you've only got two of your 16 Fords running in the top 15.
right.
So everybody, well, not everybody, some people are calling it one of the greatest races in NASCAR history. Some people are calling it the greatest race in NASCAR history. Yes, it is obviously the closest finish in NASCAR history. I say it's not an authentic finish. It's a real finish, but it's not an authentic finish because it was a green, white, checkered. Now, had that been, if they would have raced 267 laps and that we got down 10 laps to go and they're battling it and battling for it, there was no caution, and they came out that close, I would go with one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history. You go back to 2002 when Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven raced and crashed and bumped and banged to the line at Darlington. And, it was almost this close. But, man, they had been racing for 30, 40, 50, I can't even remember, green flag laps. So that's what made it a great race because they swapped the lead back and forth, back and forth. They weren't up there racing because the caution came out and half the field pitted. Or half the field, or the whole field pitted and half the field got two tires. That's not why they were racing. They were racing because they raced a long green flag run. That makes it a better race to me than this. I would go I would say the same thing about Atlanta. Atlanta was the same way. It was a late caution, and we got 3-4 laps of racing that produced that finish. Of course, Atlanta's a different track, different type track. It's one of the drafting tracks, so that finish is going to be possible every time we go to Atlanta. The only reason this finish happened is because Kyle Busch threw a hissy fit and brought out a caution. No caution, we do not get this finish.
No.
2 laps, in my opinion, and I said this about Atlanta when the Atlanta finished. 2 laps does not make a great race. Okay? It was a good race. It was not a great race. I would not put it in my top 10 greatest races of NASCAR. The finish, if you want to look at finishes, it's going to be in the top 5 finishes of NASCAR. Greatest finishes of NASCAR. But I would not put it in the top 10 greatest races of NASCAR.
Mm-mm.
So, I mean, I could sit here and give you my list of greatest races, but I would have to do some research too and kind of look back and see what years they were because I remember the race, but I don't remember what years they were. And I remember who won the races. I just don't remember, like I said, what years they were. I mean, but me also, I'm going to put 2014 Homestead ahead of this race because Harvick went out and won the championship that year. So to me, that was a better race than what this race was. I'm not saying it wasn't a good race. I'm just saying it was not everything everybody's blowing it up to be. I even voted no on Jeff Gluck's good race poll because I think it was a fabricated finish. It was not authentic. Real, but not authentic.
I mean, yeah, I would agree. There's finish wise, it was good. Yes, the whole race wise, it just seemed like a typical NASCAR race to me. Um, we went around in circles for such and such laps, and then, as usual, someone threw the caution. In this case, it was crybaby Kyle Busch. Yeah, it's really about the extent of what I think. Not the greatest. Um, good race, yes, not the greatest. I've seen better. I've witnessed better.
We had better. We had better in 2020 at Darlington when we came back from COVID.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
when it comes down to racing all day long, we had better racing in 2020 at Darlington when we first came back from COVID. And even Charlotte, when we first came back from COVID, was better than the race yesterday when you
Mm-hmm.
look at the race overall. And the third stage wouldn't have even been what it was had there not been a caution. Because, like, there for, I think it was like 30 laps, we ran like 9 total laps of caution because we'd run 2 or 3 laps and there'd be a caution. 2 or 3 laps, caution, 2 or 3 laps, caution. And then we got that long green flag run there towards the end that Kyle Busch had to ruin. But had it not been for those cautions back at the beginning of the stage, we'd be talking about a totally different race. It would probably be somewhere in the 60s on Jeff Gluck's pole instead of in the 90s. It was 96 when I voted, it was 96%. So I'm part of the 4% that said no because, how I feel about the finish. No green, white, checkered. No closest finish in NASCAR history.
It is still 96-4. I just pulled it up. So,
Okay, so yeah. Anyway, top 10. We had Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott third, Martin Truex fourth, Hamlin fifth, Christopher Bell rebounded to finish sixth because even though he was on the pole, he kind of disappeared real quick.
mm-hmm.
Alex Bowman was able to save and finish seventh, Kyle Busch eighth, which even spinning out, he did not really improve his position much, so it didn't do him any good. Noah Gragson ninth, and Michael McDowell 10th, Keselowski 15th, Blaney 12th, Keselowski 11th, Blaney 12th, John Hunter Nemechek 13th, Gilliland 14th, and Josh Berry runs out the top 15. Bubba, even with his incident, finished 17th. Ross Chastain, who ran up front for much of the race and was part of that fun 5-wide thing that we talked about, 19th, Reddick 20th, and William Byron finished 23rd. He ran it. He drove up to the top 10 at one point, and then through pit road cycles ended up back there, especially with those last couple stops. And fastest car in practice brushed the wall in qualifying. Now, I haven't heard if maybe something when that car was broke that they didn't realize was broke, which has happened a couple times with this car where there's been an incident in qualifying and they didn't fix anything because they didn't think anything was broke, and then come to find out that something was broke. I don't know. But when he got up to about 12th, 13th, he stalled out. So,
Yeah.
And then through pit strategy didn't too well. So you want to run down our playoff points?
Well, not exactly playoff points, but points in general, yeah. Playoffs are going to be different if you think here. But in our point standing, Kyle Larson holds number 1 with Martin Truex behind him in second. Chase Elliott third, Denny Hamlin fourth, Tyler Reddick fifth, Ryan Blaney sixth, William Byron seventh, Ty Gibbs 8th, Alex Bowman 9th, Ross Chastain 10th, Chris Buescher 11th, Kyle Busch 12th, Christopher Bell 13th, Chase Briscoe 14th, Brad Keselowski 15th, and Bubba Wallace rounding out the 16th. Joey Logano is in 17th, but he technically we're going to move down Bubba and Joey. Daniel Suarez is scored in 18th, but he has the Atlanta win, so he's technically in. So that puts Bubba at 17th and Joey at 18th. Gregson 19th, and then Austin Cindric, your top 20.
So 3 weeks ago, Bubba Wallace was 9th in points. Now he's on the outside looking in because he's been involved in 3 incidences that none of them were of his fault.
Right.
That shows you how quick this can turn around.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
It's got to be.
And I haven't had a chance to listen to Door Bumper Clear yet to hear Freddie Kraft's perspective on this, but that's got to kill your, not really your confidence, but your momentum for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We were seeing some good finishes, good starts and good finishes there from him consistently there for a little while, and then we started having these incidents. But that just shows you, it changes it real quick. There's, when you have an incident, there's only so much you can do if you can, if you're still even in the race from it. So, I know he's keeping a good attitude though. Trying to keep moving forward with the past few weeks, not being so lucky with it. So I'm sure, his team's supporting, still supporting him, pushing him, team owners, especially his own teammate. Bubba and Tyler have good teammate chemistry, and they're always supporting each other. So I'm sure Tyler's trying to help keep him smiling as well.
Yeah, and then 2 or 3 good weeks, 2 or 3 top 5s in a row will totally turn this whole situation around. Just like 3 weeks of wrecks have taken it in the other direction. I mean, we see the same thing with Noah Gragson, who didn't start out the year so hot. Started out the year with the penalty, and now he's 19th in points with an opportunity to win. I mean, if everything falls right at a race this year, Noah can go out and win a race. I mean, so we could see some. I still don't think we have seen all of the people outside of the top 16 right now, outside of the playoffs right now, to win. That's going to win. I think we might get another surprise or two. We've got some road courses coming up where Michael McDowell could pull off a win. We've got some, and even Noah Gragson could probably pull off something at a road course. We've got another super speedway with Daytona coming up where somebody could pull off a surprise win. I mean, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And we've had some awesome finishes this year. I wouldn't necessarily say awesome races. We've had some really, really good races. I would not put any of this year's races in my top 10, to be honest with you. But I would say that we have some good races. The TV numbers have looked good. The ratings have been impressive. They've been up for most races, not all races, but they've been up for most races. If not up, they've been steady, and that's a good thing. So, and we've had some tough competition with the women's NCAA tournament championship one Sunday. We've had some other, tough things that we've had to go up against. We've went up against WrestleMania, which WrestleMania may not be a big deal to a lot of NASCAR fans, but to a lot of the other NASCAR fans, it is a big deal. So, the numbers have looked good. So, all right, how
And
about our
right,
fantasy?
I'll throw in right now, real quick. We got the NBA playoffs going on as well, so that may affect some numbers here. I can multitask
Oh
though,
yeah,
so
and we
it
had
won't affect
we
me.
had a night we had a night race too at Kansas where it was supposed to be a day race because of the rain delay, which put them directly up against some of the NBA
Playoff games. Yep.
playoff games. So again, like some stiff competition, and depending on the final schedule, we could find our Plus the NHL playoffs are going on right now too, which doesn't mean anything to me, but there are a lot of NHL fans that are NASCAR fans too.
Yep.
So
I have a friend that's a huge hockey fan, but also a huge NASCAR fan. So, um,
best thing to do
fantasy.
that watch one on your computer, one on your TV, or watch one on your phone, one on your TV, one on your iPad. You've got thankfully we've got options to be able to watch different things simultaneously.
Yep.
Um, you may remember the TV that we had that had picture in picture.
Yeah. That was old.
So I mean, there was many times I had NASCAR on one screen and a basketball game or a football game or something else on the other screen.
Yep.
Uh, many times.
Yeah, definitely. I remember those days. So fantasy. Trey, buddy, you haven't changed your lineup since April 1st, man. I know you're busy with work, but come on, it takes like a minute, 2 minutes maybe if you think about it. His has not changed.
Either that or he forgot his login password.
I doubt he forgot his login password. No, Trey. So Trey has not changed his since a month ago. I don't remember what the first race. What was the race? The last race of March was the last time he changed it. So whatever race that was. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I'd have to
Whatever race that is, if you're that curious to know what his lineup has been the past month, go find that podcast episode, and you'll know. As for me, I had a normal, I would say, but I also had an oddball. I had Christopher Bell. Threw him in due to getting the pole. I figured he might be able to hold that. Which he still had a solid finish. So then I also had Noah Gregson, Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., and then Denny Hamlin. And then I had Tyler Reddick in the garage. I originally had Hamlin in the garage and Reddick. I figured Reddick might be able to move a little more than he did, but pretty much right before the end of stage one, I swapped Hamlin and Reddick. So that kind of saved me. For the featured matchups, we had Denny Hamlin versus Kyle Larson. Yeah, make me guess, because I didn't know who would be better. So I had picked Larson, which did me well. Larson won the race. Hamlin finished 5th. Bubba Wallace versus Chase Elliott. I pick Elliott, of course. Can't not pick my favorite. Elliott finished 3rd. Wallace 17th. Reddick versus Bell. Again, I thought Reddick would be able to kind of mosey through traffic better than he did. So I picked Reddick. He finished 20th. Bell finished 6th. And then Truex versus Byron. I picked Truex, who finished 4th. Byron finished 23rd. So I got 3 of the 4.
Yeah, so my lineup was Tyler Reddick, who was originally in my garage, but I swapped him and Christopher Bell out because Christopher when I swapped them out, it was close to the end of stage 2, and Christopher had disappeared from the top 10, and Tyler Reddick was running in the top 10. But at one point, I had swapped out, because I had started out with Kyle Busch in the garage and swapped him and Tyler Reddick out because he was way ahead of Tyler. So then when Tyler got up there, I swapped him and Christopher Bell out. So anyway, I had Tyler Reddick, Noah Gragson, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and Kyle Busch was in my lineup. So I had Christopher Bell still in the garage, which I wish I would have changed him and Reddick back out. But after the beginning of stage 3, you cannot do that. So that kind of bit me. I had Hamlin over Larson. That hurt. I did have Elliott over Bubba. I had Reddick over Bell because I had the same thinking you were doing. You know, the 45 car has won here 3 times. Why not? And then I had Byron over Truex because I thought that Byron, with his speed in practice, would be able to do better than he did.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
So points-wise for Kansas, shockingly, me and you tie at 207. I think your biggest help was having the race winner in your lineup. And then Trey, come on, man, just 2 minutes. That's all you need. 164. So between me and you, no loss, no gain. We're still sitting just as we were last week. I am now at 2257. You are at 2155. So still 102 points. Still plenty of races to go. You can still catch me. Trey's sitting with a nice 1724. Yeah. So that's fantasy.
We'll have to skip a few weeks for him to.
I don't think we could. So, our head-to-heads. Uh-oh. You are not talking. Is your headset plugged in? I see you. Unplug it, plug it back in real quick. I do not know.
Can you hear me yet?
Now I hear you.
Okay. I don't know. That's weird.
That was
anyway. Yeah, I mean, we could put like the Rick Ware cars in our lineup. We could put the Colin cars in our lineup and let him catch up. Because you talk about running bad, those teams are running terrible. Even when they're running good, they run terrible.
Oh man, I gotta stop yawning.
Yeah. Anyway, head to head, trucks. You had Corey. You had Corey Heim. I had Raja Caruth. He finished Heim, of course, won. Caruth finished 13th. You won that one. In Cup, you burnt me. You know, if you hadn't picked him, he probably would have finished better.
Sure. Blame it on me.
But anyway, you had. Oh, why not? You had Byron. He finished 23rd. I had Tyler Reddick. He finished 20th. Neither one of them did as good as we expected them to, but
No.
you know, I still got that one. You still got me by 1. But this week, for the first time in a long time, we have all 3 series running.
Yeah.
So we've got Truck, Cup, and Xfinity. I am so looking forward to Darlington. But before we make our picks, well, actually, let's do that after we make our picks.
Okay.
So let's see. Go first. You got the lineups, right?
Yeah, I got the lineup. I went first last week, though. Why don't you go first this time?
Okay. Let me finish typing this in here.
Um,
All right. See, we're picking trucks first, right? Pull
yep.
that up. All right, let's see here. We got Kobe Howard in the one car. I'm not picking him. Kyle Busch in the 7 truck. I'm just, pointing out, possible surprises. Let's see who's in a 91 truck this week. Jack Wood. Nope, that's another not pick.
No, but there's
Yep,
someone
yep,
in a
yep,
car
yep,
that
yep.
we haven't seen in the trucks in a while. I bet $5 you don't find them.
Yeah, there sure is. Man, it's tough because that team has not been running. They've had a few bright spots, but they've not been running like they were even last year. I'm not sure he can come in on a one and done and really help them. But I'm going to probably throw a huge, huge shocker out here for you. I'm gonna pick who you picked last week. I'm gonna pick Corey Haim.
Wow. Shocker.
It's going to come. It's going to come down to, my opinion, the championship is going to come down to Christian Eckes and Corey Haim. The other two people that are in the final 4 are just going to be there, but I think these two are going to be your championship favorites that are going to be racing it out in the final laps of Phoenix.
I know, I would agree. I could see that.
I mean,
But
I would say maybe if Rajah's able to put it together, him and Nick Sanchez could be the other two. But I think when it comes down to raw speed, I'm not really sure that they're going to be able to hang with Eckes and Haim at Phoenix.
nah, I mean, it makes sense. But with you saying that, kind of funny because I'm going with Christian Eckes. Yeah, that's about all I got to say.
That's a solid pick.
Oh,
Definitely a solid pick.
this will definitely test our Phoenix pick. Kind of see what it's not Phoenix, but we'll see what we think if they continue to perform the way they've been performing this season. So
Yeah. Okay. So Xfinity, we have Carson Kvapil is back in the '88 car. They've added 5 more races to his schedule this year, so I look for him to have some more good showings. I'm not picking him. Um, this is
5.
his
I
first
read
time at
6.
Darlington. Well, it might be 6. This is his first time at Darlington. I'm not going to pick him. Darlington. John Hunter Nemechek is in the 26 this week. William Byron is in the 17 car this week. So I was going to pick Justin Allgaier, but then I saw that William was in the 17 car. So before you pick him, I am going to pick William Byron. He has won at Darlington in the Cup Series. He's won at Darlington in the Xfinity Series. And I cannot remember if he won at Darlington. I can't remember if Darlington was one of his Truck Series wins back in 2017 or not. But either which way, yeah, I look for him to have a show, put on a show.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, or I guess drives your car. No, probably. I would say that's a good pick. I wasn't gonna pick him though because I know the luck of the 17. Not exactly the best luck when it comes to Xfinity. Um, I'm gonna go with a shocker here. Oh, you're messing up again.
Am I?
Oh, maybe not.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, well, it looked like you said something, but maybe it's just my
No,
imagination
I
playing
was just gonna
tricks.
say you talk about the car. I need William to win this race because I need a number 17 HendrickCars.com William Byron diecast. And the only way it's gonna get made is if he wins the race.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
Because the other one's already been DNP'd. It's already
Yeah.
not on the do not produce list. So I need him to win the race because I need the guy cast. Anyway, your pick.
So I'm going to go with park it and leave it. My good old buddy Josh Williams.
Solid pick. He's
I
been
feel
doing
like-
good lately.
Yeah, I feel like Darlington may just be his turnaround card for the season. So that's who I'm going with as my Xfinity pick. Because again, if he wins, I want the diecast. Circle B, make it happen. Sponsorship
I got
plug.
to. Dang it! I picked him already. Doggone it! I was gonna pick Denny, and I've already picked Martin too. Let me look. Have I picked? I have not picked William, have I? I have not.
You have
All right. I was saving him for a race. I didn't know which race. This will be the one. I will call William Byron to sweep the Xfinity and the Cup races. Dadgummit, Kyle, get out of the 7 truck, put William in so I can win all 3, and I can have a clean sweep weekend diecast set. Anyway, your turn.
Okay.
You've already picked him, so don't,
Who, Byron? Oh, yeah, I just picked him. Man. This sucks because...
You're running out of drivers. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we? 1, 2, 3.
I've picked
We're 10.
all,
This is our 11th race, so
yeah, I've picked all of Hendrick. I'm saving one of the Stuart Haas drivers. I've picked
2 Joe Gibbs drivers.
yeah, 2 of the Joe Gibbs. So
You've even picked Carson Hocevar.
I know. Well, I had a reason for that, but that week kind of bit me.
Well, when we get to Daytona, because Daytona is the race before Darlington. Darlington's the race before the playoffs. What we need to do is just take the drivers we have not picked yet for Daytona, put them in a hat, and draw a name because that's what Daytona is going to be like anyway.
Hey, I'm all for it. You have put yourself in there. Well, you know what? I don't know. That's what I know. I don't know what.
He's not a driver.
Thanks. Sound like mom. Man, I'm trying to think of everyone with a good throwback, but everyone I keep thinking of, I've already picked. So. Oh. You know what? I'm going to go with the 23. I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace. I think his luck's going to turn around.
Picked Bubba, haven't you? Nope.
You have.
I picked Bubba.
I have not.
Okay. That's. Oh, I'm trying to remember. how well he's run there. It's been a long time since
I don't think it's
we were
been
at
very
Darlington.
well.
Yep.
So,
All right, so last topic before we do our sponsor shout outs. Throwback weekend. Been doing it since 2015. Now it's very hit or miss which teams do it, which teams don't. I mean, there for a while, for a few years, it seemed like almost every team that was worth anything was getting in on it.
mm-hmm.
Hendrick has some good ones this year. The number moved forward for throwback weekend just doesn't. NASCAR, if you're going to move the numbers forward and you're not going to change it, at least if you're going to keep doing throwback weekend, let's really throw it back and put the numbers where they belong in the middle of the door.
Just put the numbers back all together.
Well, I agree, but do you think, in your opinion, that throwback weekend has run its course? Especially since it's not on Labor Day weekend anymore.
Ooh.
Which is the whole purpose that they started it in the first place, was to celebrate Darlington going back to Labor Day weekend. Like it was forever.
Yeah, since it's not Labor Day weekend anymore, I would say it's pretty much run its course. But I still like the throwbacks personally. Most of the time, though, we're starting to see a lot of teams not participate with it. We only have a handful this year. HMS, thankfully, the whole team went in on it, which I think is good. Being their 40th anniversary in NASCAR, I think it's a good choice. But even when teams have that, I mean, we saw Martinsville run the Ruby Red with their very first race color, when they in their very first race. So I like the throwbacks, but I don't think we have to run it at Darlington anymore. Specifically, we've also seen throwbacks to Phoenix. Jimmy Johnson's very last season, they all four Hendrick cars ran Jimmy Johnson throwbacks to celebrate his retirement and appreciate all that he's done for Hendrick and the sport. So I feel like there are times the throwbacks are good calls, but I think it's run its course as a guaranteed Darlington race. Like I said, a lot of teams have stepped away from it. It's not on Labor Day anymore. That really throws it off course. So if they do want to continue doing this, I would say change it. I was going to suggest Charlotte with the Coke 600, but I would not do that. That's more of a American salute race. I would keep running their patriotic schemes for that. So
They've got the perfect week. If they're not going to do it Labor Day weekend at Darlington, they've got the perfect weekend the weekend before Charlotte.
Yeah.
The All-Star race at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah.
If you want to throw it back. Yeah. I mean, I agree. You're seeing more Xfinity teams and truck teams participate than you are Cup teams.
Right.
You're not seeing the number of Xfinity teams and truck teams participate that used to participate. I remember, I know it took a couple years for it to catch on, 2 or 3 years for it to catch on, but I remember as 2019, it was like almost every car in all 3 series, almost every single car on the track was a throwback. You had some sponsors, some teams that didn't care, but you had a whole lot of teams that were putting effort into it. They were some teams were going and getting the original sponsor. I mean, we got Corey LaJoie with the Xerox car, throwing it back to Alan Kawicki.
Oh yeah.
Um, trying to think of some of the old throwback cars. Of course, you had Chase Elliott throw it back to Alan Kawicki's Hooters car. Different number, but it's the same paint scheme, same sponsor. I mean, you had Kevin Harvick was throwing it back to some old Busch series paint schemes that ran in the 70s and the 80s. You had teams that were really putting effort into it. They were really thinking about it. And now it's just kind of like, what's left? It's almost like they've run out of stuff to throw back to.
Yeah. And I feel like it may be a marketing thing. There for a while, they were really probably making some good money because you were getting that difference. You didn't have the same normal paint scheme, like you said, there were some times where they had the actual sponsors to complete the throwback, and now marketing wise, it's probably fallen off after so many years. Sponsors aren't really jumping at the idea anymore, so it's that's also probably an issue. So there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I would say all in all, I think it's ran its course. If they are to keep it, I would agree All-Star Race would be the perfect weekend to do it. Throw back to some of the, the sports, Hall of Famers, some of the sports All-Stars, some of the big names that we've seen come through with the sport. So...
And I think maybe sponsors would get behind it because it is an all-star race. It's not a points race. So
right.
Maybe the sponsors would be more apt to say, yeah, I've got no problem with changing my logo. Yeah, I've got no problem with, designing the car to look like this. I think if they don't move it to Wilkesboro, let's just stop doing it. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I got. I think I'm pretty much done ranting tonight.
Yeah. I've got nothing else as well. So if you want to go with our shout outs, go on ahead.
Let's do it. All right. You got the Scene Vault podcast with Rick Houston and Steve Wade. Excellent historians of the sport. Door bumper clear of TJ Majors, Brett Griffin, and Freddie Kraft. Apparently, they had a special guest spotter with Joel Edmonds on this week. I've not had a chance to listen yet. Check it out. I'm going to listen to it tomorrow. Dale Jr. with Dale Jr. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and Thursdays with Dale Jr. Download Reloaded. Excellent interviews on Wednesday. I tell you what, man. They had Chocolate Myers and Kirk Shelmerdine on last week. They were telling old Earnhardt stories. Great to hear some of the stories from drivers that I grew up watching, or their crew chiefs, or team members, or team owners, from drivers that I grew up watching. Actually, Detrimental with Denny Hamlin was out today. It was a pretty good show. Denny he didn't want to say that Chris Buescher won. He kept saying NASCAR got it right, but it sounded more like he was trying to convince himself than he was trying to convince the listeners. Teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. They were fun to listen to this week. If you're interested in F1, there's some F1 talk on that podcast about this week's race as well. Happy Hour with Kevin Harvick on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoie on Wednesdays. Follow Bob Pockrass on Twitter. Follow Matt Weaver on Twitter. Couch Racer on Twitter. Follow Trey Ryan for some really interesting stats. I mean, he's putting out some pretty good, some off the wall stats. Not just top fives, top tens, all that. He's putting some off the wall stuff out there. So follow him on X, follow Jayski on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Go to jc.com for your stats. That's where we get all of our lineups, points, and race finish information from. They got a really cool stat sheet that you can download and use. And then, of course, our personal favorite, circlebdiecast.com. Check them out. Buy from them. If you hear about them here and you buy something, in the little comments section, tell them where you heard about it. Tell them where you heard about it. That you heard about it from two goofy guys on YouTube talking about it. Put in the name of the show. Maybe they'll come check us out. Maybe they'll step up to be a sponsor. But check them out for all of your race wins. I know the Kyle Larson win from the other day is on there. If you want special stuff from Hendrick, you have to go to HendrickMotorsports.com or that individual driver store to get their autographed stuff. But you can get your regular diecast, your 164 diecast, your IndyCar diecast, your sprint car diecast, your drag racing diecast, all from CircleBDiecast.com. If y'all like the more expensive elite diecasts, you can get those from firstclassdiecast.com. Circle B does all their billing and shipping and stuff for them. So, great company for your elites. And man, I don't know if you've noticed, and I know Circle B doesn't have these, but they're starting to come out with models again. But the plastic models, are almost as expensive as the diecast. So
Yeah.
I guess it depends on whether you want to put it together or whether you want the factory to put it together, I guess. So whether you want it metal or plastic.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I remember I got Bill Elliott's, one of Bill Elliott's models from the Elliott store. They were expensive, but so yeah. All good podcasts to listen to. Everyone very good to follow on Twitter, and then Circle B, of course. I will throw in Happy Hour with Harvick, interview with Chase Elliott. I feel like that'll be a really, really good episode to listen to. I saw a clip where it kind of talked about some serious standpoints of how Elliott views his career and where he stands, which I think was a really good way to that he views what he's doing. So I highly suggest checking out that episode. All links down in the description below. And then for our sponsors with the channel, I appreciate all three of these partners. You got Swift Grips, analog grips for your controllers, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch. Help you sweaty gamers keep your thumbs on the analog sticks, I guess. So check them out. You can use code SterlingRider for 10% off at checkout. And then you got my favorite energy drink, of course, Dubby. Fun fact, I've probably plugged them into my last week about 3 times. One guy said, "You sound just like a sponsorship plug," and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm kind of used to it. Used to talking about it, but Jitterless Energy Blend, filled with vitamins, super healthy for you, much better than what you find in stores. Dubby canned energy drinks coming extremely soon, in the next week or so, I believe. So check out their app, check out their website, use code SterlingRider for 10% off with them as well. Try them out, super good. They also have hydration formula, merch, and shakers. So as you saw the shaker I held up, and yes, there's Dubby in it. Show you how good it is. And then of course you see it on my hat, Rankest Rope Ranch wear, retro style, Western wear and rodeo mixed together. Super good, super comfy. I love them. You can use code SilverDuke15 for 15% off at checkout with them. So again, thank you to those three for the sponsors. Thank you for all the non-sponsoring shout-outs. We get a lot of our info from them through Twitter and the podcast. And all the links are down in the description below, along with my Twitter handle and Duke Rider's Twitter handle as well. So check us out as well. That way you know when we post. You can see our own thoughts when it comes to racing, and you can see when we upload, as we're constantly tweeting, as you would say, when a new podcast is up. So, yeah.
I want to add one more to our non-sponsor shout-outs to check him out on Twitter and YouTube as well. Brock Beard. He's at NASCAR on Brock on Twitter. Brock Beard on YouTube. He does some excellent videos. He's doing the Forgotten Storylines of the 2001 season. He's got Rise of the Field Fillers series going on. He's got a movie series on there called 3 Before February, where he talks about the 3 deaths that occurred before the death of Dale Earnhardt in February of 2001. Several other video series that he writes, produces. He gets interviews with drivers, owners, crew chiefs. I mean, he's and he covers the back half of the field, where TV and everybody covers the front half of the field. He covers the back half of the field. He gives out a last place award at the end of the year for the driver in all 3 series, top series, that have the most last place finishes. Don't really know if that's an award I'd want to win, but it is an award that's out there. It's your version of the participation trophy.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
But yeah, he's an excellent follow. He's great to interact with. He's written a couple of books. He's got a book out on J.D. McDuffie, who died in, I believe it was 1991. And another book out. I cannot remember the name. It's a recent book. I cannot remember the name of that book out. But anyway, Brock is an excellent follow. And very interactive. And he's fun to watch.
All right.
And that's it.
Well, if that's
I just saw a picture of cinnamon. I'm scrolling on X and I see a picture of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I'm like hungry now.
Well, darn, you done made me hungry too. That's weird. Anyways.
Perfect time to end the show.
Yeah. So with that being said, we will see you next week at Darlington. Yeah. Eric Jones plans to return, so hopefully that goes well for him. And we'll see you after Darlington. So any final words?
We're throwing it back. We're going back to the future.
That'd be a funny paint scheme. Be very, very bland paint scheme, but it'd be funny.
We're making a quantum leap. Okay, enough with the TV show puns.
You got weird. Well, other than that, do you have any other final words?
Let's go to Darlington. Toughest track on the circuit, Lady in Black. And they call it Lady in Black for a reason, because she likes to kill them cars.
Okay. So we'll see you next week after Darlington. So with further ado, peace out. Right on. God bless.